Hi everybody, welcome to week 2 of class. In this week we are going to learn and talk about our learning patterns. And learning patterns are simply ways that you process information and then make use of it in your daily life, and not just school, but in work and with other people and in the way you just approach problems when they come up. The learning patterns sort of permeate all of those. And below this video you can read about my learning patterns, and I have 3 really strong patterns and 1 use as needed but not quite as strong pattern, and together they make me what is called a strong-willed learner. And in terms of the learning patterns, all strong-willed means is that I have 3 patterns at use first level. It doesn't really mean that I'm a strong-willed person, although in this particular case I am, but it really just means that I have 3 patterns that whatever the project or task I'm doing, those 3 patterns kind of try to fight it out to see which one gets used first. So I won't go into my own patterns. Like I said, you can read all about them in the information below, but what I thought I would do is kind of share with you my cheat sheet of the patterns. So for each pattern I sort of have a word that sums up, is a real umbrella term for what that pattern means. So I'll start with sequence. Sequence, when I think about it, I think about order. So sequence is about putting things in order so that they make sense to you. So think about cleaning your house. If when you clean your house you do it in the same way each time, you start with the living room, then you move to the kitchen, then you move to the bedrooms, then you move to the bathroom, and regardless of which week it is, that's the order in which you do those particular tasks, then that is sort of an indication that you pretty well relate to sequence. For someone like me, like I said, my sequence is use as needed, and it's pretty low use as needed. I could care less. I'm the person that starts in the kitchen and gets about 4 dishes washed when I think, oh, I need to take this to the laundry room. And I'll go into the laundry room, and then there's the laundry. And so I'll start a load of laundry and put a load of laundry away. And then I'll be in a bedroom and I'll think, oh, well, I need to change this. So I'll work in there for a little bit. It literally takes me 4 times longer than necessary to clean my house because I get sidetracked every time I go into a particular space. So when you think about sequence, think about order. Precision, not precise. Everybody tries to use the word precise, and the pattern name is actually precision. Precision is about information. So a lot of people wonder, well, what's the difference between sequence and precision? Well, sequence is about order, and precision is about information. So my precision pattern is use as first, and it's pretty strong use as first. I make a living knowing information. So when I think about precision, I think about, oh, how can I find out every single thing I need to know about a particular topic? So I not only research A, I research A, B, C, D, all the way up to Q. And so I have a really strong affinity for the precision pattern. And precision, you could also think of accuracy, although maybe not quite as strongly. I like to be right, and who doesn't like to be right? So, but when I think of precision, I think of information. The next pattern, technical reasoning, not technical, but technical reasoning, is about puzzles. So a lot of people who think they avoid technical reasoning will say, oh, well, if something breaks, I would never fix it. I'd ask somebody to fix it, or I'd go buy a new one. That does not necessarily mean that you avoid the pattern. If you want something fixed, I am the very last person you would ask about that. I can't fix anything. And when I put together things, invariably I either have leftover parts or something is on backwards and the thing isn't right. So, but yet I am used first in technical reasoning because I am a puzzler. I love any sort of puzzles. So I read mysteries, and I actually do actual puzzles, but I like to problem solve, and that's sort of one of the key characteristics of technical reasoning, is the ability to sort of take things apart in your mind and put them back together in a way that makes sense. The last pattern is confluence, not confluent, but confluence. And when I think of confluence, I think of change. So a lot of people think, oh, I don't take risks, so I avoid confluence. And that taking risks is not what confluence is about. Confluence is about the idea of change and how you react to it. So in my day job and even in my home life, every day is a new thing. We try to have a routine for my son Murphy. Since he's brain injured, a routine actually works really well for him. But invariably, something happens that's not expected. And how you handle that is confluence. So in my day job, I have been working at my day job for 20 years, and not a single day has been the same as the one before. I do not have a routine set of tasks that I do. Every day, someone will call me with a different question, and I will need to research and provide them with an answer. And so confluence is the pattern that I score the strongest in, along with precision. And when you try to follow me around, I'm like a bull in a china shop, just boosh there and boosh there and boosh there. And so that's sort of what I get when I think about confluence. So I'll sum that part up, and just to say that when you think about sequence, think about order. When you think about precision, think about information. When you think about technical reasoning, think about puzzles. And when you think about confluence, think about change. The other thing that I wanted to mention were just a couple of things about sort of the patterns as a whole. Mostly you should kind of agree with what your pattern scores were. You don't have to have every single characteristic listed to be used first. So, for example, technical reasoning, a lot of people who are mechanical in their minds, who think very logically and work in mechanics, are used first, but then a lot of people like me, who are the least actually technical people you'll ever meet, also score as used first. People do not avoid patterns as much as people think they do, so people would say, oh no, I don't take risk, I definitely avoid confluence, and then they'll score right in the middle of the use as needed range. And then another thing that I want you to remember about the patterns is it's not about the score. Some people get kind of upset if they don't score really high on each of the patterns. That's not the point. It's not a test. The higher the score is not better. As a matter of fact, high scores are not good at all, because it means those patterns are so strong, they get in the way of actually accomplishing something. So as an example, my sequence is sort of my lowest score, or not even sort of, it is my lowest score by quite a bit when you compare it with the other patterns. So things that really should be done in order trip me up, because my brain thinks confluence and thinks precision. And so instead of just doing A, B, C, and D and getting it out of the way, I'm like, well, maybe if I do D first, that will help me understand what B is looking for. And oh, well, maybe I should go research this, because that sounds like something I'd be interested in. So something that could take me 12 minutes takes me 4 hours and 12 minutes, because my other patterns shove sequence out of the way and don't let it do what it needs to do. So those are the two things that I want you to think about. Is one, don't worry about the score. Think more along the lines of what category you are in, whether you're in a avoid pattern, whether you're a use as needed pattern, or whether you have a use first set of patterns. And then keep in mind that you do not have to embody every single characteristic. You may only think of one characteristic of a particular pattern equates to you, but you scored in the use first category. That could very well mean that you are so strong in that one characteristic that it raised that overall score. Or you could be like, I don't really think any of those apply to me, yet still are finding yourself use as needed in a pattern. So the patterns are just ways to sort of think about your learning. And in week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, what we'll do is we'll learn strategies and other techniques that you can use to sort of even out that pattern use. And I can give you an example of that as my final sort of thing before I drone on for another 15 minutes. When I try to make sure my patterns help me out, the one thing I do is realize I have to leverage sequence. So what I have to do is sort of dial back my strong confluence, precision, and technical reasoning patterns and bump up a little bit my use of sequence. The best thing for me to do that with is a checklist. So whenever I start a task, I make a checklist of the things that I need to get done. And then I say, no, seriously, Carly, if you want to have time for yourself today, sit down, follow this list. Do not It's like Monopoly. Do not pass go, do not collect your $200. Just get this list done. And what that helps me do is it helps me elevate that use of sequence and tamp down on the other patterns so that I'm not running amok doing all of these other things except the one task that I need to get done. So that is a short version of the learning patterns this week. I'm sure we'll talk more about this in the discussion forum. And as always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to use the Ask Your Instructor forum, because if you have a question, odds are someone else has that same question. Have a great week, and I will see you in the forums.